most important thing for us to recognise is firstly, understand the value of this project. And the value is in raising community awareness and the desire for community members, predominantly landholders, to get involved and understand what is required to deal with the natural hazard risk of bushfire here in this vicinity and this locality. So well done to the team for achieving the funding through the Australian Government and the Queensland Government to enable you to continue to promote the message and the messages that are necessary. Dealing with bushfire is a shared responsibility. Tonight we'll talk about both sides of the equation though, that is government responsibility and individual responsibility and how that needs to come together. What I'm personally most pleased about is that the most powerful thing that can come out of this is more people who live in our community, particularly in those areas of vulnerability, that are not only aware but are committed to understanding how to deal with their local risk and the hazard that they've got on their property or in their vicinity. The comment that was on the video I used again this morning, it's true. Gaining people's attention in Queensland about bushfire as a problem has been difficult. Until a fire was burning somewhere in a locality and smoke was in the air, people weren't that interested because the hazard of bushfire isn't the same as it is in New South Wales and Victoria, that's for sure. But what I'm here to reinforce again tonight is the bushfire risk in Queensland is escalating, particularly probably from central Queensland right through to the border and into New South Wales. The risk is definitely escalating. But in 2018, we had major fire at the back of Mackay in Younglot in rainforest. And a bloody 737 dropped retardant behind Mackay. So there's something going on and things are changing, and things have been changing for a while. The other thing that prompted my memory, 2002 fires were very early in my appointment as the Commissioner, where it was very clear to me that the resourcing and how QFIS operated wasn't adequate to meet the future. And there was quite a lot of reorganisation, new funding, new services provided to build the capacity of the Rural Fire Service particularly, but the whole of fire and rescue, and our ability to work in basically landscape scale bushfire disasters. And that's what the organisation is very capable at now. So a lot of work's gone on, and those fires that struck around here, as well as the particular fire that prompted my memory was a fire at Ballandine in October of 2002, where we lost one civilian, one rural firefighter was very severely burnt, there were about 6 houses lost, and that was quite unique. To have that amount of property lost in a bushfire in Queensland wasn't the done thing. And we knew we had to do a lot of work, and that work has gone on over the last nearly 20 years now, and will continue to evolve as we develop new techniques, new equipment, new skills, new approaches. But the key to it is the messaging, and that is, as a landholder, some of you may only own suburban blocks, but as we probably move further north, I would think the block sizes get bigger. And with that, the interview we saw with Chris Norris, his block out the Peachy area, he's got a different range of risks, and the bigger blocks obviously are the same. But the most powerful effect is understanding that you have a real risk or a real hazard on your property and you need to do something about it, or the adjacent lands that may be owned by other agencies of government or other larger private landholders. One of the weaknesses in that is absentee landholders cause a great deal of concern for those genuine landholders who are trying to manage their property and do the right thing. So that is a concern. Well, how do we integrate all this, and can we team up? And the best way to team up, particularly for blocks country, I guess you'd say, is to work with your local rural fire brigade. No doubt about that. There is a great deal of information available on the QFIS website, but importantly also going along to meetings in local halls, meeting the local brigade, listening to what they've got to say, taking away lessons about what to do when that bad day occurs, but also what you can do in regards to mitigation of the risk on your property. That's important too. Obviously, one of the great weaknesses is if vegetation is too close, and there are ways that can be cleared legally, and also protecting a property, a structure from ember attack. And that's what a lot of the new building regulations are aimed at doing, is designed to prevent embers encroaching into a building and causing a fire. Because you all know the story. If you have to evacuate, it's quite often that the house is okay for quite some time. But the result of ember attack is whilst you're been removed or evacuated from the area, it can result in the house and property burning down. Take a step back though, the most important thing is the safety of your family and you as an individual. And that's why this messaging and this raising of our awareness is so important. To sit down and make that bushfire plan is a critical part of what the Rural Fire Service will tell you each and every day. How to do it is on the website. There are other websites. There are other organisations like the Queensland Fire and Biodiversity Consortium, which will help people plan how to do burns and teach you how to do burns on your property. So there's a range of tools available, and thinking about tonight, I think one of the ingredients is, yes, we have field days and we have things like the Crow's Nest Emergency Service Day, people come along and have a chat. But I think an objective, Chris, for the project is how do we get this connection even more meaningful? Getting community and the services, land managers, parks and wildlife, NRM, other agencies of government that own a lot of land, and rural fire services and the fire and rescue people as well, in a tighter connection, because that's what's going to make it work. And for sure, we've got more trucks and we've got big things that fly in the sky, but a fire truck and a plane cannot be at every property on a catastrophic fire day. I can remember when there was no such thing as a catastrophic warning. So the whole thing that MacArthur did in 1966, the fire index, had to be redone because the FDI didn't go past 100. But now fire conditions and fire weather contribute to catastrophic fire weather, which is a fire danger index of over 100. So that's new. That's happened in the last, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, as a result of a term many people may have heard different people talk about, megafires. And certainly a fire ecologist in the United States called Stephen Pine calls this the age of fire. It was the Anthropocene, now it's the Pyrocene. So we're responsible for what's happening in a lot of ways. So there's that side of the coin. Now government agencies, and some people in the room will say, well, nobody's doing enough. We're not doing enough burning, we're not allowed to burn or whatever. I know that the Inspector General's report following the 2018 fires, and certainly again after the 19 fires in Queensland, made it very clear that there is a lot of mythology about what you can and can't do around your property in terms of cutting breaks and what you can burn. It's not always absolutely straightforward, but if you approach the right people and go about it the right way, a lot can be achieved in that space. So on the mitigation side of the fence, yes, we would like to do a lot more burning, and we will. And I found out tonight, QFIS has been given an increase in Rural Fire Service officers focused around the state on mitigation. And they're here to help. They're here to work with community members. Even in some cases, local rural fire brigades will assist people to do burning on your property. Not everybody's property, but it's a good training activity for new rural fire volunteers, because the downside of lack of mitigation is millions of dollars paid for aircraft to fly all over us and drop pink stuff on us. It's millions and millions and millions of dollars when that money would be far better off at the front end, that is at the mitigation and community education end. Difficult because trying to make that transition it's like in the disaster management world for flooding, and bridges wiped out, and they used to build the same bridge in the same spot. And guess what? Next flood or next disaster, it's gone. So all that money is wasted. And that's what we're looking to encourage. Why I'm excited about what you're trying to achieve here is I think building better pathways between the services, the land agencies, the local government and community members with genuine interest and concern about what the potential is. One of my other roles since retirement is I've been active as one of the emergency leaders for climate action with my good friend and colleague in New South Wales, Greg Mullins, a former commissioner there. I would say that after Cyclone Larry in Innisfail, 2006 I think that was, I really noticed that more and more we were being confronted with these, what I call landscape-wide disasters. And QFIS was under a lot of pressure to be able to respond anywhere in the state to deal with these matters, with the SES, with rural fires, with fire and rescue. And I didn't know what was going on, but something was starting to fundamentally happen because virtually every year since 2006, there's been a major, if not more than one per year, major natural disaster in Queensland. Again, predominantly flooding, severe weather, storms. But let me tell you again, bushfire is on the rise. Why is that so? In my opinion, obviously linked to climate change. The key antecedent issue is drought. Severe droughts. What happened? What was the condition in 18 and 19? Severe drought conditions. And once we have severe drought conditions for a period of time, in an area like the escarpment, this is just wonderful fuel just sitting there, waiting for that spark, that misadventure or that deliberate act, or whatever means, or a natural act through lightning to go. And it will burn such that these firefighters in the room and any other volunteers here, you cannot put it out. You cannot stand in front of it. You can hopefully guide it, hopefully steer it if you're lucky, or like most of the time we pray for rain and lots of it. So conditions have changed. The environment that we live in and operate in has changed and is continuing to change as temperature increases. Temperature certainly drives big cycles of weather. So I'm concerned personally with a number of things. Fundamentally, I meet a lot of people that don't like to hear me talk about climate change. So I put it a little differently. In the world that we live in, we should strive every inch of the way to pollute less. Because without clean air to breathe, without water to drink, and without soil, more importantly than nearly all of those things, we're in serious trouble as a race. And what we're doing in a lot of cases is we're not looking after our soil, we're not looking after our waterways, and we're putting too much rubbish in the air. That's my view. And another thing about the drought is we've got to be able to hydrate our soils better than we have been doing. And as an aside, I think regenerative agriculture is a great thing, and more needs to be done in that regard in terms of how farming and grazing particularly can be done slightly differently and help soil store carbon and keep it hydrated. I talked to an organic farmer out of Rockhampton a few weeks back, and he hasn't had fire on his property for 17 years because he doesn't need to, because the way he manages his grazing activities and what have you. And I thought, oh, surely you must prepare your property. I said, yes, my cattle eat my fire break for me. A lot of people might like to hear that sound. A lot of people would say that's bad. So what I'm getting at is what we're confronted with is a fundamental shift in the way we think things should be and have been for us, for most of the people in this room for much of our lives. Recognise that there's change afoot and understand how we can adapt, how we can live with these situations. I mean, who would have thought about the floods here in Toowoomba in 10/11? And that kind of severe weather is going to continue, there is no doubt, and become much more regular. The other thing that concerns me about all of that is the compounding effects of natural disasters in Australia, particularly in regional Australia, because most of regional Australia runs on volunteers. The Red Cross, Country Women's Association, the local volunteer fire brigade, the local SES, whatever it is. And you look at the communities through southern New South Wales and into Victoria from the 2020 fires, they're damaged. They are severely damaged. Not just loss of physical assets, but the mental strain and mental pressures on people, because one minute they're getting burnt out and not that long after they're getting flooded. And it just goes bang, bang, bang. So that's something that I personally am very concerned about. The strain is going to be felt predominantly in regional Australia, and we need to be able to help those people more. The project is born out of an understanding that people here, you live in a high bushfire hazard zone. You need to be not only aware, you need to be proactive. So you need to understand, what can I do for my little place? How can I also influence my neighbours? And how can I interrelate with agencies such as the Rural Fire Service, the local brigades? The more like-minded people in your little village, in your district, in your suburb, the better it's going to be. Because on catastrophic fire days, if a fire breaks out, there's only one thing you can do, is get on your bike and get out early. So really, ladies and gentlemen, it's a tribute to you guys for turning up tonight to become involved, become aware, appreciate the work that the Save Mount Lofty Incorporated Group is doing in raising awareness. It's a really good thing. The take-home messages are: be aware, be proactive, get involved in your community, and get information from the Rural Fire Service, even if it's the website as a starting point. There's lots of great information in there about what you can do to protect yourself and your property. For people who own some larger property, groups like Queensland Fire and Biodiversity Consortium have great training days and programs to teach you how to plan and map out hazard mitigation work on your property.
When you say to get involved, Toowoomba has a very large exposure to the escarpment. Are we best to form our own little suburban groups, or try and work as one big group? Have you got any thoughts on that?
I think the immediate thing is the people in your immediate area, if you're not like-minded, it's like the absentee landholder on bigger blocks. If there's a gap in the defence, that's where fire will attack. So what I mean by that is, obviously you've got the umbrella group, you've got the state agencies and local government that are supporting you in disaster management work and evacuation, but you do what you can in your local group. I don't think you need to form great big groups and teams, but people you meet down the local shop, have a coffee with, make sure people gradually raise their consciousness about what it is that we're facing. You don't want to scare people or terrify people, but believe me, if you haven't thought about it before the day you need to, it causes a lot of complications.
So I am on the escarpment. One of the things I am a bit concerned about is the fire trails or fire access points. There are new owners along in various different places and they don't maintain them.
The maintenance of fire trails, it does fall back on who owns the land, and you've got to contact them and put pressure if needed. Area fire management committees that the rural guys chair, got all the government agencies together, council, local council, and they're working at a governmental level to try and coordinate. You see, everybody says, okay, mitigation's the silver bullet, we've got to burn more. Well, That's not true. It is so difficult to get good burns in, and we can't burn enough country. We can certainly burn strategic breaks if all the conditions are right. That's why I emphasise on the bad day, it doesn't matter what you've burned in many ways. It might help a little bit. What I want to reassure you is that there is work going on, and some of it might be unseen. And there are, I hate to say it, but committees, and they get together and they plan and try and coordinate their work and make sure that they're doing what's achievable. Town planning is responsible for endless years of emergency service work ahead for us. What I mean by that is the number of developments that have been built on floodplains, in bushfire high hazard zones, and continue to be built. Emergency service will never run out of work, unfortunately.
When we talk about the separation from the structures in the forest country, for the 1.5 times the mature average tree height, or 30 metres, whichever is the greater, it's managing the ground fuels. It's not disturbing the trees, standing trees. So if there's no ground fuels, it won't get up into the trees. It will travel fast, absolutely, very fast. It'll catch you out. So we need to understand a little bit about perceived risk that goes with fire behaviour, a little bit better to understand that. But it's certainly not wholesale clearing of land that will just create an environmental problem then. You won't have a bushfire problem, you'll have another environmental problem of erosion and weeds. Managing the ground fuels is the most important thing. The trees will present a problem in that I'll drop limbs, but that's a eucalypt forest.